All right, y'all, welcome back. It is a lovely Tuesday afternoon, and it is a Watch Club Tuesday. As always, it is Auto09, your lovely host, creative, concept, person, storyteller, poemist, essayist, whatever you'd like to title me. We're here, we're queer, we're doing the damn thing. And I can't say, honestly, I can't say this enough. I'm so excited to be here. We're doing Watch Club Empresses in the Palace, Season 1, Episode 14, Part 1. Part 1 will consist of episodes 65 and 66. Part 2 will consist of episodes 67, 68, and 69, encompassing the in total review of episode 14. With that being said, chat, let's hop into it. I don't want to keep you all waiting any longer, but just in case you didn't know, just in case you were unaware, Empresses in the Palace? Just to let you all know, The Legend of Zhen Huan is also the name. A 2011 Chinese television series based off the novel of the same name. Author's name is Liu Lianzi. And we're hopping straight into episode. Well, no, we're going to do a recap, chat. Let's do a recap. We're going to bring it right back before we get to 65. Let's hop on into 64 where so much happened. That was just quite honestly that was just nothing but heartbreak. Episode 64 really did it for me, chat. Like, I thought I had cried, and I've watched some really sad dramas. I've watched Ashes of Love, okay? I've watched Scarlet Heart, okay? Like, don't. I've seen some real sad dramas. And to sit here and watch Consort Hui, by the way, get her promotion. Consort Hui die in the arms of her lover like that was so heartbreaking. And I cried so hard. And honestly, Concubine On, who was the mastermind behind this, inducing her into such a shock state that wasn't able to push, she lost so much blood. Crazy. Concubine On is. I don't even know what to say, chat. I'm at a loss for words. She's the most vicious, antagonist in this series. Like, I really thought the Empress is something, to be honest, but yeah, Kageyama is not some. She needs to go. She doesn't need to stay in the harem anymore. I'm done with her. Not to mention we see that Yurao, the youngest sister, of Noble Consort Shi, has come into the palace, and we're a little worried because the Emperor is clearly intending to, you know, more than likely try and take her as a concubine. He's interested in her, and he's trying to, have his advances, but she's rejecting him. She's not interested in Han. In fact, she's interested in his brother. She's interested in Prince Sheng. And Prince Sheng very much, is, what's the word? He he reciprocates. There you go. He reciprocates that. He's very much into Yurao, and they want to elope already. They're all like, "Oh, I'll do this for you, or I'll fight for her. I'm not gonna give up." Prince Sheng is not someone who's gonna lay down and take it. And then even knowing that, obviously, in the end, he can't actually fight against his brother Emperor. So Emperor brother, excuse me. That sounds more accurate. But let's hop on over to episode 65. We are so we are so chat this episode. We are so oh my god, chat. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, chat. So, if you all don't remember, should I put on some music? Because I want to make sure we set the vibes in here. I want to make sure that we're having a good time. It's gonna be just no. I don't want it to be dull. I want the environment to be set where we all can have a chill time, a vibing time, but also I don't want some dead air. I want it to. I want the space to be filled with other than just my drownings ons, if you will. But like I said, Empresses in the Palace, episode 60. Chat. Oh my god. So yes, I was freaking out because honestly, this is what I mean by the Emperor. Like, he he really get on my nerves. He's so complacent in a lot of the shit that he does. And I used to say that in the beginning of Watch Club when we were watching Zhen Huan at the time go through so many I guess hurdles at the beginning when she first entered, and it was only because the emperor like he pretty much paid her dust. He didn't care too much to look into any of like the happenings and the goings on because he's so fucking enamored with the beauty of these women, what they look like, who he like reminds them of, and how close he can get to Empress Chunyun, who it was the epitome of his love apparently, right? And that's why Jinwan was even in the position she was in for such a long time. But I digress. Once again, the emperor is sitting here and he's pretty much trying to he's teasing of course but somewhat serious. Like you know how you have those friends, or you know how you have like a person that'll they're like, oh, I'm just kidding, but deep down like you're not kidding, you know for a fact that you was trying it. This is what the emperor is doing, right? He's like trying to press on and still get at Wan B, and he's like, oh, I won't treat you so bad, and you're a relative of Nova Consort Shi, so even better, I'll give you a title, and you can even be first attendant, because obviously because you can start, especially for a maid, you can start at escort or second attendant, right? And he's like, you know what, I'll boost you to positions higher, you give you an honor, and pulling out all the fucking stops, right? And Wampi's like, oh, hell no. Like, she drops down to her knees. She's like, oh, no, 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 no. This is an honor I can't take. And in fact, I even have somebody I like. I have a special man, you know? So this wouldn't work, right? But before things even go any further at this point, because honestly, I'm pretty sure in Noble Consort she's annoyed, really. But she kind of like interjects and she's like, you know what? I actually wanted to personally arrange Wambi's marriage. And she kind of like makes like the excuse to have Hwanbi go grab Hong Yin, her son, from the nursery so she could like get her out of the room before the emperor could like do anything or say anything else, right? And this scene is so like, oh, is this like, to me I was just like, this is this what it was like for them? I don't really think so, but obviously this is a dramatized version of concubine life and imperial concubine lifestyles because we don't really know what it is and what it was like. But if it was something like this where you had to deal with your husband always just like hitting on some girl and being like, oh, girl, I could get you in the house, I'm gonna get you a nice little place, I'm gonna give you this, you're gonna have this title, I'm gonna call you this, what you think, girl? Like, how annoyed, or how, I don't know, how, what's the word, chat? How aggravated and vexed is the word. How vexed would you be throughout the entirety of your day just having to hear that, or the gossip of having to hear that? He's like, oh yeah, the emperor took another maid again, made her a first attendant again. Yep, that's about the seventh one. Yep. I would pull my hair out. I would pull my fucking hair out. Anyways, chat. As you can see, this is definitely the episode for me to give my 2 cents, because I feel like from here, people's attitudes, and people's, I mean the characters' attitudes shift in a way. Like, they're still themselves, but some become more themselves than they ever were before through the circumstances they've had to go through the hardships that they've had to go through. And I think the emperor in the last few years, having lost decent concubines, that being like Consort Hui, but also concubines who have completely nothing to offer, like whatsoever. And I don't know if it's taking a toll on him per se, but I think he's just at this point so viciously, or I wouldn't say viciously, he's so numb to it, he's so cold to it, that it's just like like you're dating, marrying a maid or marrying a woman or whatever. It's just like at the drop at the hat for him. It's nothing. It's just, oh, she's a pretty face and she reminds me of my former wife. Get her in here. I like her. Anyways, like I said, Consort Shi takes over. kind of cuts that shit out. And for a moment, the emperor, like I said, he was joking for the most part, and he kind of like laughs off her response a little bit, because he kind of thinks it's like jealousy, right? And he's like, oh, it's actually kind of nice to see you upset a little bit outside of you just being sad. And Noble Consort, she's like, I'm fine being sad, but it's not, just sadness that's bothering me. I'm actually really fucking pissed, bro. You just let Concubine on sit here and pretty much get away scot free for causing Consort Hui's death. Like we said, she pretty much shocked her with the news by using her maid, right? Balche, I think. And that caused like excessive blood loss. She wasn't able to really push during labor. She just pretty much just bled out, right? And the emperor tries to assure Noble Consort Shi that he'll give her an answer and not to worry about it in the meantime. And so he kind of suddenly brings up something else, right? And apparently, court official Yimin, Guaxia Yimin, who is the father of Noble Lady T, apparently, has requested of the emperor to start thinking about announcing who he wants as his crown prince, right? Because he cites it as a way to strengthen the roots of the nation, and like I guess when it comes in, when it comes to terms of like enemies and looking a certain way, you want to make sure you're at that point in time in history. You wanted to make sure that your heirs and your throne was secure and nothing could shake that, right? So that's what Emin is trying to say, right? Because he has four adult sons at this point. And Noble Consort, she's kind of like, he should be punished. Even being killed wouldn't be enough for how disrespectful that is. The emperor isn't dead or dying yet. Like, how dare we choose a crown prince? And blah blah. She kind of like plays her part for the most part at this point. And the emperor, he kind of agrees with her, but he also realizes that the real trouble behind this is naming a crown prince would make him a target for all the other princes and all the other officials backing those princes, and all the women in the harem backing those princes as like trying to vie for the throne. And he knows that because his favorite, who happens to be Hong Yin, once again an infant, would not be able to take the throne anyway, which I don't know why he's trying to do this. Whatever. He doesn't want his favorite son to be a target for anyone, right? And so this is when we also see like Noble Consort, she shares the same fear but for different reasons, right? She also kind of agrees that that's why she wants the emperor to favor Hong Yin a little bit less. Love him, yes, but don't overly do so, because we don't want him to be a target for other people, specifically the Empress. We all know who they're talking about, the Empress, right? And they talk about the Empress. They talk about how she gets more anxious and she's kind of like getting, well, I wouldn't say getting agitated. No, not agitated. Wordplay is so crazy for me, chat. But she's getting like edgy, like tense, right? Like that's what I mean. And the emperor, kind of decided that in a way to kind of placate that, her son, Hong Shi, the empress's son, is going to be married off. He's going to have his wife chosen from him, right? And so he goes to visit the Empress Dowager. And I'm assuming, okay, he's going to tell the Dowager about his plan and whatnot. And so he's spilling the beans. He's telling the Empress Dowager how the Empress was involved with the paternity test, and how like she added the alum to the water. And we know the Empress Dowager knows, right? And the Emperor knows the Empress Dowager knows. But no one says this aloud, right? So the Empress Dowager sits here and she's like, I'm aware of her evil doing. And especially against Noble Consort, she knows what the fuck is going on. And she's like, I get what you're saying, but I, the Empress Dowager myself, was somewhat suspicious of Noble Consort Shi, though, when she came back pregnant out of the palace, all of a sudden claiming that, after 3 months, she's carrying your child. All of a sudden. So the Empress Dowager ends up becoming sympathetic to the Empress trying to not necessarily sabotage the the paternity test, but wanting to even to do the paternity test in the first place, right? And so she kind of cautions the emperor, you can't accuse the empress outright of deliberately sabotaging anything. That wouldn't look good. The empress is the leader of the harem, the mother of the nation. And if you allow, other concubines to rise above her, other consorts to rise above her in the harem, that's going to cause chaos. And chaos in the harem is chaos in the court. Chaos in the court is chaos for the country. And it's like all this bullshit. Like, we all know she's doing this for her selfish intentions and is clearly like protecting the empress to protect herself, right? We've literally seen her say it. So for her to sit here and recite this whole bullshit like honor speech right now is so hypocritical to me. It's so hypocritical, right? But in the next scene, we see Yurao, we see Huan Bi, and we see Noble Consort Shi are together in the garden, and they're catching butterflies. And Yurao's like, I can't catch these butterflies, I'm sick of this shit, right? And the Emperor's coming over and he's staring at like all three of the sisters in the garden for a little bit. And when he does come over, you can see like Yurao like immediately recoils from him. Like, it's so funny. She loathes the sight of this man, chat. I mean, I would too, to be honest, but it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Anyways, the Emperor invites them over to come view Prince Shen's archery skills. And at first, because once again, Yurao's like very very brash. And she's like, oh, I don't want to come see his skills. Who does he think he is? Blah, blah, blah. And her sister's like, relax. We'll go to the archery like test thing, right? And what do you know? It's a banquet scene. And you know I love banquet scenes. Banquet scenes mean drama and the epitome, the juiciest tidbits, the chef's kiss, the filet mignon of drama, chat. And so, honestly, speaking of chef's kiss, while we get to this banquet scene, everyone's sitting down. We have the emperor in the center, noble lady Ning on one side, noble consort Shi on the other, all the princes and Yurao and everyone's there. Everyone's there, basically. And everyone's longing at everyone else, everyone's looking at everyone else, right? And they have longing on their faces. That's what I was trying to say. LOL. Like, it's funny because like when you think about it, it's really a triangle, like quadra like whatever something of a like romance tale. Everybody's liking everybody else, but no one ever gets to be with the person they want to be with. And it's and it's all because of one person. That's so crazy, chat. But it's like noble consort Shi and noble lady Ning are staring at Prince Gao, right? And then when noble consort Shi looks up from finally staring at him, and she looks at the emperor staring at Yurao, right? Yurao staring at Prince Shen, right? And I'm just like, all right, everyone just take a break. Everyone just breathe. Stop drinking alcohol. Just breathe for a second. And after the whole dance performance number is done, the emperor, he starts, he's in a merry mood. He's happy. He's drinking and whatnot. He goes to talk shit with Prince Gao and Prince Shen, right? And Huan Bi, who came over to pour the wine, accidentally spills some of it on Prince Gao, right? So Prince Gao, he like stands up and he goes to, he's getting to walk out to go change his clothes when he happens to drop a pouch on the floor, right? And all of a sudden, everyone, and well, by everyone I mean like Huan Bi, Prince Gao, and noble consort Shi, all like dead and like stop in their tracks and lock eyes with each other. Everyone's like, oh shit, kind of a moment, right? They become a little bit more subdued, kind of, is what I'm saying. And Prince Gao knows that this pouch is the pouch that holds that that paper art cutout of noble consort Shi from New Year's when she placed it on the snow plum in the fields, right? And so the emperor, who's like not aware of anything right now, he's drunk having fun. He picks it up. He's like, "It's such a little girlish thing. Why do you even have this? Did you get this from a brothel or something? What is this, right?" And so he opens it at first, right? And he pulls it out and he's like, "What is this?" Right? And he's like, "It looks like noble consort Shi." And everyone's like, "Oh shit." And now when I say everyone, I mean everyone at the banquet. It's like, "What? Oh shit, what?" And so we see Noble Lady Ning, for some reason, right, takes this chance to kind of redirects the Emperor's tension. She does compare it to Yurao and Huan Bi, saying that it looks like all three of them in general. But she also adds that, Qinxi, Chinese Valentine's Day, apparently, which I didn't know was the ancient version of that. That's cool. Is in a month. Maybe the emperor should fulfill the lover's wish by granting a marriage. Maybe you should help him out a little bit. And this is why I'm like, I never fully trust Noble Lady Ning, because it's like, yes, you want to help, but it's always backhanded as help. It's never good. It's never you wanting to just do pure altruistic good. No, you always gotta get your fucking shit off, huh? Hydration station, chat. Let's get some water in here. Get that posture checked. Drink your water. Let's go. But at this point, Prince Shen is just, thinking, wait a minute. No, you can't have her. You can't take her. She's mine. Like, he kind of gets anxious. And he blurts out, like, "Oh, well, Prince Gal and Yurao have only met for, one or two times. Like, they definitely can't, be with each other." And so the Emperor's like, "Yeah, okay, I kind of agree with that point. Yeah, not to, you know what? Not to mention, the paper's kind of worn and frayed. It's like he's, kept pulling it out and holding it, It's like he's had it for almost some time now, and Urao's only actually been in the palace for a couple months. So when you think about it, or not a couple months, well, no, a couple days I put. And that kind of leaves only Huan Bi to be the person, right? Because it can't be noble consort Shi. Like, everyone's like, well, obviously it's Huan Bi, right? And so because everyone is getting that conjecture, Huan Bi knows that she has to do something. And she steps out and she kneels down asking for punishment from the emperor. She continues and she says, 7 years ago, she met Prince Gao, and this was all happening and taking place when Imperial Noble Consort Dunsu, aka Consort Hua for those who don't remember her, she had to get Prince Gao to help our noble consort Shi of today back in those times, because at that time Imperial Noble Consort Dunsu was forcing her to kneel outside in the palace while pregnant, 2-3 months pregnant, not to mention being super sick and about to faint, right? And because Prince Gao was that person to help her, she personally went to his palace to thank him and end up cutting that paper figurine, that little statuette in her figure, in her image for him as a thank you. And she also even adds to her story that she asked Prince Gao what flowers he liked, Prince Gao asked her what flowers she liked, and she put those petals in the pouch for him. And so the emperor checks the pouch, and sure enough, it's the flowers that Prince Gao said, right? That Huan Bi said as well too. So the emperor sees this, and he's like, okay, pretty understandable. I see what you're saying. All right. But Noble Lady Ning, who's probably the most pissiest person in the room right now, she's very upset, kind of starts prodding at the situation. She starts unraveling the strings a little bit, right? But the emperor laughs it up, and he knows that at the end of the day, it makes sense why Wanbi didn't want to be a concubine. And since he has like this full picture, he trusts Wanbi, and she's been around noble consort Shi for years. He grants Wanbi and Prince Gao their marriage, right? But of course, nothing is ever that easy. Nothing is ever that sweet. And we get a couple objections. Noble Lady Ning is like, oh, is she gonna be able to be on the same status or same par as us when she enters the palace? She's just a maid, right? And so this is when noble consort Shi, once again, coming to defend her sister. She's not gonna let her sister lose face. She's not gonna let anyone like at all talk down on her sister. Decides that, okay, I'm gonna play this game with you. So she personally asks the emperor to make Wanbi her foster sister, and to also put Wanbi's name in the genealogy list of her family. That way, she will be recognized as not necessarily the Neo Huru's daughter, but the Zhen's daughter, the Zhen family's daughter. So she will actually have official recognition from her father now in the family registry. And then to make things even sweet, just to top a little cherry on top, she also gets to be adopted into the Neo Huru's clan as their second daughter, right? That way she'll have a family name to back her, and that way she can enter Prince Gao's household with some dignity, right? And she can enter it proudly. And of course, Noble Lady Ning tries to give her disapproval with her 2 points, talking about how, oh no, but how can you allow this? And then you kind of see Wanbi backing down, and rightfully so. She does feel like this is so sudden, and she's probably undeserving for it. But noble consort Shi points out that rumors and gossip and people saying how you are undeserving and this happened can really cause some really bad things. You don't want those outcomes, right? You don't want your reputation ruined either, right? But that's not the only objection that actually bothers me. Prince Gao decides that, oh, he's not here for any of this at all. He says that he's already met another woman and they can't be together, but she'll only ever be his wife and he won't ever marry anyone else, and that's the end of that. And the emperor's had enough. He's like, you know what? Fuck all this. Fuck all this. Wanbi is gonna marry Prince Gao as a second daughter of the Neo Huru's clan. That's it. That's just it. No questions about it. And so everyone's like, hey, congratulations, compa. Like, everyone's just deciding to go along with it. Everyone toasts to the happy event, right? And everyone looks miserable at the fucking news, except the emperor. He swears he's done his good deed for the day, and it's so hilarious to me. But after a while, noble consort Shi is a little drunk, and Wanbi notices this, and she takes her out to go get some air. And Prince Gao isn't far behind from the two. He kind of takes over from, holding her up from walking, or not from walking, from falling if she does while she's walking. And he kind of gives her the speech oh, I can't do this, I'll love you and only you. And noble consort Shi's like, listen, we have no alternative. And it's better Wanbi than anybody else. She really genuinely likes you. What happened with Imperial Physician Wen is a testament to how dangerous it can be if we don't try and squash this situation right now. And so in the next scene, we see the Emperor and Prince Gao. They're talking a little bit. And the Emperor, after sobering up, realizes that, he has to tack on a little bit more of a condition for this marriage to go smoothly. And he explains to Prince Gao that with this complication and the Empress Dowager being sick, the Emperor himself is a little worried overall about the position of Prince Gao and, what others might say, right? And so, speaking of the Empress Dowager, he was pretty much reminded from about 3 years ago, she tried to set up Prince Gao with another another marriage. She tried to arrange one for him, excuse me. And Prince Gao turned it down. It was for Lord Pei's daughter, Min Jinxing, and apparently she's liked him from childhood. She's had this thing for him and can't let it go. So much so that since Prince Gao was refused the proposal from 3 years ago, she hasn't married anyone else. And since she's heard the news that Prince Gao is marrying, she she just fell out. She couldn't take it. She just fell severely ill, and it's breaking Lord Pei's heart, right? And Lord Pei has petitioned the emperor 3 times. Please, I don't want to lose my daughter. I'm old and she's all I have left. Just if you would allow her to marry Prince Gao, I won't have any problems, and everything will be okay. All that shit basically. And of course, Prince Gao, understandably, is a little taken back, right? He doesn't want to marry someone he doesn't like. He turned down the marriage the first time. He also doesn't want to waste Meng Jinshen's her time. Yeah, she's waited 3 years to not have gotten married, but at this point, do you want her to stay in a loveless marriage? That's kind of worse, right? But the emperor's like, I don't want to piss off, this very important government official, right? Plus, it's normal to have multiple wives, dude. That's just what we do. That's how we kick it in this dynasty. And still, Prince Gao's like, I'm not with it though. Oof, please. And the emperor's like, no. Anyways, you're gonna do it, and it's fine that you don't love her. It's fine. That's normal. That's a normal thing. And in the end, Prince Gao is forced to marry Meng Jinshin, right? So Prince Gao's like, you know what? Okay, let me get something out of this. I have a request. If I do marry these women, these will be the only two women I will marry. These will be the only 2 women I will ever marry in my life, okay? Not to mention, I want Huan Bi as the head of the household, right? And so the emperor is like, oh, okay, that's it. That's all. Not a problem. You showing me who your favorite is, huh? Okay, I see you. And so the Prince Gao was like, yeah, man, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. And so moving on from that fiasco, because I do kind of feel bad for Prince Gao, because he is getting the short end of the stick right now. Damn, it gets passed around, don't get me wrong, but damn, is he holding it. But like I said, moving on, Huan Bi is getting notified of all the etiquettes of marrying into Prince Gao's household. Her official title is going to be his secondary wife, his Sifa Jin. And so, and then for the actual customs, there's things like name choices, marriage fortune reports, and all the like. The only thing that she actually has to physically do is choose her name. And Noble Consort, she says that she's been acknowledged as the second daughter of the Nidohush family, and both daughters of any daughters of the generation, of the current generation, use Nu or Hu, constituting their first part of their names. And so Huan Bi chooses the character Yu, and she officially is now acknowledged as Nidohush Yu Yin. And so Noble Consort, she also has a little surprise for her. Apparently her dowry will be prepared with 3 times as much as jewels and gold, and what else would you have in a dowry, maids, servants, all that good stuff, right? Also, Consort Jing will oversee the entire the ensemble of it all and whatnot. And we hear that Bin the poor servant girl who unfortunately who was serving the Jin family, got captured by Noble Lady Qi. She will actually accompany Yu Yin into her new home as her personal servant, which is good, which is a really good thing, because that's someone who's trustworthy and loyal, right? And so the wedding itself will be held on the 4th of June, and her parents will be allowed to visit her in the palace. And that's the next scene. We get to see finally noble consort Shi and Yulian's parents finally arrive and have that beautiful heartwarming scene of getting to see their daughters, their two eldest daughters. It's been some years and it's really sad. It's really sad. Noble consort Shi also promises her father at this time that the emperor is going to investigate her father's charges and we're going to have your name cleared, and you know, we're going to she's pretty much saying that like you won't have suffered for nothing. I'm not going to let you go down like this, dad. And her father's like, "All right, that's whatever you could do. Whatever you could do." Like his excuse me. His mindset at this point is just so thankful, one, that his daughters are okay. Two, Yu Yin is one, her mother's soul or her spirit will be allowed to rest in peace because he gets to recognize her finally as his daughter, and she's gonna get married into a household. Like Jin Yan Dao is beyond, beyond happy at this point. Yu Yin also, after the next scene, I should say, Yu Yin also actually apologizes to consort Shi in the next scene, and she's doing so as she's like getting prepared and ready for her big day, and she's apologizing for basically stealing her sister's ex, lol. And noble consort Shi gets what's happening. She understands that it's not Yu Yin's fault, and it's okay. She really honestly understands that Yu Yin has deep feelings for Prince Gao, and they're no lesser, or they don't lose to her in terms of who cares more for Prince Gao. They equally care for him in the same manner. And she's happy to see that it's her sister that Prince Gao goes rather than someone that wouldn't truly love him, right? And I thought this was also a big this is growth, is what I'm saying. This is a big step for noble consort Shi. I didn't think she would be mad at Huan Bi for liking Prince Gao, but you could tell that she never really talked to her about it, never really, not that she didn't tolerate it, but she just never really acknowledged it formally. But now that they are, right? Now that they are, she recognizes that, like, Yu Yun, you're getting married tomorrow. She says to her, "Don't even worry about all of this. You should be happy." And true enough, the wedding day comes, and Yu Yun's costume, her wedding costume, looks amazing. I love her hair coronet, her beautiful pins. It looks stunning. I love it. I love it. I love it. Right? She bids farewell to her sister, and she's sent off in her wedding sedan, and we go to the manor of Prince Gao, right? And as we're going to the manor of Prince Gao, we get a little bit of a quick scene where Noble Lady Ning, she actually whispers over to noble consort Shi and tells her that she wishes it was noble consort Shi instead. At least Prince Gao would be happy. And I still don't trust Noble Lady Ning, but I think this is Noble Lady Ning maybe accepting that extended olive branch noble consort Shi extended some time ago, right? But anyways, the wedding night comes, and Prince Gao is drunk as shit. He's drunk off his rocker. And he's like kind of like somewhat passed out, halfway passed out on the table when Ajin, his manservant, comes to fetch him. And Prince Gao is like barely able to communicate words, right? And Ajin's like, "Well, you can't just stay here. You can't lay here. It's your wedding night. You have to choose which wife you want to stay with, And so Prince Gao blurts out Yu Yin's name, for lack of anything else, because he really didn't say, "I want to go to Yu Yin." He just said her name. And so when he is carried off to Yu Yin's room, we get a look at Mun Jinshin, and honestly, she's kind of resigned to her fate. She says to her maid that she knew marrying into his household would be like this, but honestly, even with her assumption, we see that when we go to Yuyan's room, nothing's really happening. Prince Gao is sleeping there for the night, yes, but he's completely knocked out and he's in her bed, passed out. And Yuyan's kind of like sleeping, or not sleeping, she's kind of like off to the side of the bed, leaning over him, just kind of taking caring over him, not really enjoying the wedding night, if you will, chat, right? And that pretty much concludes episode 65 of Empresses in the Palace, The Legend of Zhen Huan. My final thoughts, honestly, I did like this episode, but this episode made me mad. Because it's like, why, bro? Like, Huan she's getting second nature treatment, and I hate it. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. But also, like, the Emperor really isn't, like, I don't know if the Emperor knows that these actions and these random edicts and words that he's saying really affect people, bro. Like, as you can see, the episode started off with him like playfully but also being somewhat suggestively suggesting to Huan Bi to marry her and that he'll take care of her, to at the end of the episode Huan Bi actually is married off to Prince Gao. And even though it made sense for the Emperor in the end, it's like, you're flip-flopping, you're flippity-flopping. What the fuck? Get it together, dude. No wonder your harem's in such a fucking state. Get it together. I was talking shit on the Emperor last episode, and I'm gonna continue talking shit on the Emperor in this episode. We started last episode with him hitting on Huan Bi and pretty much offering to marry her. And this episode pretty much starts off the same fucking way, alright? So we have the Emperor Yu Rao and Noble Consort Shi all sitting together talking with each other, and they're talking about Consort Hui's her last 7 ritual ceremony rites, right? And that's a particular funeral ceremony that is carried out over 7 days, and it's pretty much a tradition that was carried out for various different reasons. And mourners wear like funerary dress, and it's all like according to like the actual relationships with the deceased. It's very intricate, very, very awesome, right? But that's not what's pissing me off, because as soon as they stop talking about that, all right, as soon as they stop talking about that, because they really do get into the facts that the Guajra family has been pretty much coming after the Jin family this entire time, and neither Noble Consort Shi and Yu Rao understand why they want to ruin their family so much. But it doesn't change the fact that the Emperor decides that he wants to change like Yu Rao's name out of nowhere, right? Like, again, the Emperor hitting on another episode, like another sister in another episode. Like, it never gets old. It's like every 3 to 4 episodes, this man has found someone to hit on to try and add to his harem. And so far, every single sister that Zhen Huan has ever had somehow has to be part of this man's harem. Somehow. But anyways, both Noble Consort Shi and Yu Rao are kind of like taken aback by like the sudden need for a change in her name, right? Probably annoying Noble Consort Shi to a certain degree, I would think. Noble Consort Shi asks the Emperor, what's the reason for wanting to, to change her name from Yu Rao to Yuan, right? Where does the character Wan come from? And so I guess the Emperor, he's probably trying to save face because he realizes, I probably shouldn't have said this, but I'm gonna have to figure it out some way. He says it's from a poem that he's reading that's praising a woman's beauty by Jian Hua, right? And Yu Rao's like, wrong, dead wrong. That particular poem is describing the beauty of a dead woman. And I'm very much alive. I'm pretty alive. Like, I'm pretty sure if I like pinch myself, I would figure I'm alive. And so Noble Consort, she again speaks out and is like, that poem's to commemorate Zhen Hua's wife. Are you trying to take your Rao as a wife? And of course, chat, in my mind, I'm like, obviously, that's what he's doing. I don't know why you're trying to skirt around the idea, and I'm trying to figure out why she's trying to skirt around the idea at this point as well. But the emperor says, there's a clear distinction between, a wife and a concubine, and I don't have the intention to take a wife ever, And so they go back and forth a little bit about, concubine positions and, what's the meaning of a wife and a concubine overall and whatnot. And the emperor decides like he doesn't want to bring this topic up anymore. He's just like, you know what? This is a can of worms I opened, not for me. So he assures Noble Consort Shi that at the end of the day, he'll look out for a really good family for Yu Rao to propose marriage for. And so he does eventually leave, probably to the delight of both of the women. And as the two women see him off, Noble Consort, she, while talking to her, sees that at the end of the day, Yu Rao doesn't want to be a substitute for the emperor's love for his wife. She doesn't want to be a concubine. She doesn't want to be secondary in anyone's heart. She's her own person, and she being her own person doesn't allow for that, right? And Noble Consort Shi, to her credit, agrees, and she's like, that's the Jin daughter we raised. That's my little sister, right? And you kind of see that fire that Zhen Huan had at the beginning of the series, where she tried to keep that spirit, that Jin daughter spirit, but in the predicament, when you're in the harem, in the predicaments that she were in, it would more than likely end in her being like entrapped by the Empress or Imperial Noble Consort Dunsu at the time. And so this is why I'm pretty sure this is why she's trying to keep Yu Rao out of the harem, knowing that all the schemes and all the plots that she has to deal with on a daily basis, pretty much causing her to walk on thin ice every single day she wakes up, knowing what that does to a person and how you have to become a different person in order to live in that environment. She doesn't want that for her sister. She's trying actively to deny that future for her sister, right? And so, speaking of Empress Chen Yun and not wanting to be substituted for and all of that, in the next scene, the emperor is getting ready for his nap, and Su Peshong is helping him remove his clothes, like he's helping him undress, and he notices his duck pendant is gone. And his duck pendant is a favorite of Empress Chen Yun's. It's like her favorite jade piece, and the emperor wears it all the time. Like he doesn't go a day without it. And the emperor's like, don't worry about it. I gave it to Yu Rao for a blessing because her lucky day is soon upon us, And it's like, see, once again, the juxtaposition of scenes where Yu Rao's like, I'm my own person and I'll never marry the emperor, where in the next scene the emperor's like, yeah, I love Yu Rao and she's gonna marry me. It's just chef's kiss, chat. This is the drama I live for. This is the drama I seek. But after all of that is said and done, sometime later we see Noble Consort Shi and Consort Jing are playing chess with each other, which is nice to see that these two consorts are getting along. And after all that bullshit that happened with Noble Lady Ning, Noble Lady Qi, and her accusing Noble Consort Shi of adultery and cheating and whatnot, apparently the emperor has punished her family because of her disrespect. And apparently this punishment has caused a weird emergence, and Guarja means crimes. Apparently he was exposed for possession of briberies, some really horrible, cruel, and inhumane acts against people, framing officials, taking or seizing property without permission, things like that. And so Noble Consort Shi comments how after all these years of him being this evil, it only took a month for his house to be raided and his family members to be executed and imprisoned for all of his bullshit. And when we say years, we're talking about anywhere between like 5 to 6 years at this point. So for a half a decade, for all the bullshit that this man has built up and tried to do, it only took a month for it to be broken down, right? So apparently all of this causes Guadra Yimin to commit suicide in prison. And so the two consorts kind of offer their thoughts on how the emperor handles the situation. And we see they kind of differentiate, they have their own opinions. But in the next scene, we kind of see the extent of how destitute Guadra Wenyuan is, right? The former noble lady Qi. It's raining, thunder and lightning, and she's running barefoot around in the palace, and she's coming to run towards the empress palace, begging for help. She's pleading at the empress's door, trying to get her attention, right? And it's unsuccessful. The empress does not come out. She does not open her gates, and Wenyuan like runs off trying to escape the guards, because there's guards running after her. So at this point, the emperor and noble consort Shi are talking to each other, and we get a real description of the purge that the emperor took against the Guadra family. Apparently, all men over the age of 14 will be beheaded. All men under the age of 14 will be exiled. And all the wives and daughters of the Guadra family will be sold off as servants and slaves. Like, that's crazy. He just obliterated like 4 generations of a family right there, just in one swoop. And so we hear, like, as the emperor is saying this, when Yuan is at the foot of his palace, she's like wailing and beseeching the emperor to forgive her family, and that she'll take the punishment for them, and that her father's already gone, and blah blah blah, right? And so the emperor, in his words, not mine, apparently, wants to consider her service in the harem. And so he tells Su Peshang to tell her that she's going to be demoted to a commoner, but she'll be exempt from the death penalty and allowed to leave the palace, right? So this is his pardons to her. So not only satisfied to plead with the emperor to like forgive her family, she starts cursing noble lady Qi. She starts calling her a slut. She starts saying she will become an evil spirit to haunt her, and she won't be satisfied until she does, and whatnot, right? And so obviously you can't have this mad woman just calling the noble consort of the country a slut. No way. So as Su Peshang comes out of the actual palace, he tells the guards to deal with the problem, which apparently his definition of deal with means beating her to death in some corner of the palace. Also just deciding on his own that she's better off dead and buried in the woods, and just, let's not tell the emperor so he doesn't have to have his ears dirtied by the news of this. And I'm just like, wow. Just a sad and pathetic death where no one's ever gonna know whatever happened to you. You're just buried in some ditch, and your family's been pretty much annihilated and sold into slavery. Wow. I mean, I'm not gonna say she doesn't deserve it after the shit she's pulled, but I'm just like, woo. Wow. This honestly, this honestly kind of was like, it's getting a little harsh. My heart's hurting a little bit there. I didn't expect it to get that dark, but it did, chat. It really did. The emperor also lets noble lady Qi know that he's gonna issue an edict, and he's gonna exonerate her father and restore his position from before he was thrown in prison and falsely accused some bullshit charge. I don't even remember the name of the charge at this point. Noble consort Qi, who's very appreciative, doesn't want her father to like have some high ranking position. She wants him to enjoy his old age as he's already been through so much. And so the emperor agrees and he appoints him a position called the feather bed of 4th grade ritual position, which I tried my best to look up any information regarding like officialdom and like titles and whatnot. And I got a little bit confused and I didn't have like enough time to get a proper understanding. But that was just a translation that I got from YouTube, and I wanted to make sure I had the right translation. So I was like, yeah, let me see if that's right. But I couldn't find anything, so we'll keep that there, but I will change it if that's not what it is. However, though, however, speaking of morbidity and shit getting dark, the next scene, Guaja Wenyuan's dead body is being pulled away, and it's just conveniently right in front of the Empress and Concubine On. Just like walking past, they see her dead body and they like jump back. They're like, oh shit, like, oh fuck. And you know, the Empress takes this time to make it apparent, you know, in order to avoid something like this happening to you, you can't be useless. And the only way, you know, useless people even survive is death. That's the only way, because you can't survive in this palace if you're useless. And so the Empress warns Concubine On that from now on they have to be careful, which to me lets me know these two are going to be plotting something. These two, Concubine On is evil, but the Empress isn't, she can't do it on her own, okay? These two together, real sick shit, chat. Anyways, we move on to the next scene, and we have Yu Yan and Noble Consort Shi talking. Noble Consort Shi is praising her, and she's also I keep hitting my mic. Also reminding Yu Yan, you know, of her duty of making sure to look out for the family's best interest, even though she's outside the palace, you know? So Noble Consort Shi's gonna take care of the family inside the palace. Yu Yan's gonna take care of the family outside the palace. It's gonna be a two-pronged approach for these two, basically. And so she also brings up about how secondary consort Meng Jingxin, you know, she has the same position as Yu Yan, and she wants to know if she's been giving her a hard time. And Yu Yan says she isn't really bothered by Meng Jingxin. Like, Prince Gao can only really pity her. He can't force himself to love her, right? And that's enough for Yu Rao. She doesn't have to worry about Yu Rao. That's enough for Yu Yan. She doesn't have to worry about him being taken away from her, right? And so, speaking of Prince Gao, and speaking of princes, Yu Rao comes in and she's letting her sister know that she's gonna head out, right? And both Yu Yan and Noble Consort Shi kind of tease her because they're like, look at this growing girl looking at her just walking out. You can't even control her anymore. Where are you going? You know, they're pulling that act, and it's so cute. And Yu Yan mentions that yesterday Prince Gao told Prince Sheng that told her, that Prince Sheng ran into Yu Rao, and both of them kind of seemed flustered with each other. And the Empress Dowager noticed this apparently, right? And so Noble Consort Shi begins to question Yu Rao about like, oh, when did you like men of the royal family? Especially since you declared you would never marry one. And I really love these scenes because these scenes really showcase like the dynamic of sisters, and you know, you get a little bit of a light heartfeltness out of this. And I'm just like, Zhen Huan barely got to hang with her sisters and in an official capacity like this anyway. And so it's nice to see that the three of them are getting to have like a little bit of bonding time. But in the end, Noble Consort Shi says she'll do what she can to ask the emperor to like fix her up with Prince Sheng, but you know, don't go out sneaking out to see him in at night. Let's not create any rumors we don't want. Which is really good thinking on her part, because honestly, the Empress will use anything to bring her down. Like, anything. So Yu Rao leaves, and the two sisters continue talking, right? both are aware of the intentions the emperor has towards Yurao, but noble consort she wants to act while she can, knowing this is a really good opportunity, because she kind of states, well, she kind of implies, I'll say, that if Yurao were to marry like some ordinary man, you know, the emperor would still probably take her as his wife, meaning he would more than likely kill that person or kill off that person so she could marry him, right? But noble consort she also knows that this isn't enough to try and fix these two up. She has to draw the emperor's attention away, and so this is kind of left up to Yu Yin. She takes on the task of concocting a plan. She's gonna send in a maid, Sai Ping, to the emperor as a tribute maid, to keep him distracted and busy and unable to get at Yurao while Yurao and Prince Sheng are together, and hopefully kind of make apparent to the emperor that they like each other and need to be with each other, right? And so when Yu Yin goes home and she tells Yurao, well, not tells, because do they really ever say anything directly? But she kind of implies to Sai Ping, you know, you're so thankful to Prince Gao, right? And you love the fact that he helped you out. Well, we want you to help Prince Gao out. Prince Gao needs you to do something in the palace. And if you can do that for us and keep a good eye out for Prince Gao, well, that will be most appreciated, right? And that thing is to marry the emperor and pretty much be not necessarily a spy, but a little bird in his ear always saying good things, basically, about Prince Gao. And Sai Ping kind of like rejects the offer at first. She's like, I don't know, but obviously Yu Yin is like, nah, you're gonna do this shit anyways, I have all your forms and papers signed and whatnot. Like, Yu Yin pretty much pressures her and is like, yeah, but you really want to do this. And so Sai Ping eventually agrees, right? And honestly, I knew it was gonna be like this. I knew it. Because what smart woman at this time, what girl who didn't know her left foot from her right foot didn't know that living as a concubine probably wasn't the funnest thing there was to do. Okay? Sure, it beats being homeless and being poor, I guess, but what's your definition of poor? Because if you have to balance your livelihood and the livelihood of your children every single day for the rest of your life until you reach the pinnacle peak of your life, which I don't even know what would be for a woman at this time. I guess Empress Dowager, which even still, you have to make decisions that you aren't happy to make, right? So it's I get why Sai Ping was just like, I don't know if I want to do this. Yeah. Anyways, never far from the drama, honestly. The next scene, we have Noble Lady Shen, who hasn't been around much. She's kind of been a background player the entirety of the series, only making appearances every now and again. She and Noble Consort Shi are together and they're gossiping a little bit. Evidently, concubine An's father, court official An Bihai, has been exposed for extorting over 800,000 tiles worth of silver, as well as several houses. So we see more corrupt officials, more father officials getting corrupt due to the favor and probably the greed of their concubine daughters. That's crazy, right? So apparently the harem is gossiping about it endlessly, and the emperor is extremely upset. And I want you guys to take note that in this particular situation, Noble Consort Shi is really choosing to remain ignorant of these gossips and the politics right now. She appears to kind of have not known this big news, and she wouldn't have known if Noble Lady Shen didn't bring it to her attention. And I'm saying she's doing this because I'm saying she's doing this front in particular because how could she not have known? Especially being number 2, like second head of the harem. How could she not have known this major issue, especially being a favorite of the emperor and always having his ear? Oh, best believe she knew this was happening. She just tried, like I said, she's trying to remain ignorant. She's trying to remain neutral for the time being. Why? I'm not sure, but we see it. The two talk a little bit more, and apparently the emperor removed and behind from his position and had him thrown in jail, right? But the big reveal, the bigger news, is Noble Lady Shin actually planned this all along with Noble Consort Shi. Noble Lady Shin apparently had her father secretly monitor concubine An's father, right? And they grabbed all this evidence against him to present it to the emperor, knowing that with the backing of Noble Consort Shi and like this plan that they made, the evidence would be put to good use. So what you're telling me is the reason why she was acting so innocent. Oh, I don't know. What do you mean? I didn't know. I wouldn't have known this if you told me this. Oh my girl, you literally created the plan. And I found it so funny because when I was writing this script and I watched the episode, I was like, wow. What was the point? What was the reason? Cardi B, what was the reason? But anyway, at this point, the only thing Concubine An can do is kneel outside the Emperor's palace. She's apparently been crying for 2 days, right? And these two meaning Noble Consort Shi and Noble Lady Shin, are just literally talking about the poetic justice of it all. Eunuch Su comes in a little bit after and he announces the Emperor would like to invite Noble Consort Shi over for dinner. So naturally, in the next scene, when Noble Consort Shi is coming over for dinner, guess who's outside kneeling at the palace? Concubine An. And of course, Noble Lady Shi, of course she's not gonna pass her without saying anything. She's gonna have to give her the 1-2 combo, honestly. And she kind of really had like some deadly implications in between that little confrontation that they had. Apparently she told Concubine An not to worry. It's gonna be okay because the person we need to worry about is your father. We need to worry about him, boo. And honestly, Noble Consort Shi is her acting as like the evil villain. Oh, I love it. I'm here for it, chat. But she comes in and she greets the Emperor, right? And she comes in with this feigned concern about Concubine An's father and how she'd offered some words of advice. And the Emperor's like, forget it. She's not gonna listen to you. She's been kneeling here all day for her useless father, but won't think about how to help me out, right? And so after talking a bit, the Emperor and Noble Consort Shi kind of walk out together. And, Concubine An thinking this is about to be something good, because at least the Emperor's coming out to see her now, ends up getting scolded by Noble Consort Shi and the Emperor. And the Emperor even goes so as far as to warn her that he will imprison her father, but if you come back or if you continue to kneel tonight, he'll kill her father. And honestly, in the most cold-blooded gesture, bro, Noble Consort Shi does this little combo here to Concubine An, who's like crying out to the Emperor. And it's like, but of course, this isn't the end for Concubine An. She really has to fucking like run to the Empress and figure it out. Like she has to figure it out. It's her father. And she does that. She runs to the Empress and she tries to get the Empress to help, right? But of course, the Empress is worse than the Emperor, honestly. Like, she's like, it's not that I can't help you, or it's not that I won't help you, it's I can't help you. At this point, the only thing that would really help you, like, is getting pregnant by the emperor. The emperor cares about his children the most. And if you got pregnant by him, you could use that to get your father out of jail, right? And I'm like, girl, what? How did 1 + 1 = 4? Because there's 2 pieces of extra information in there. How the fuck did you get that from that, right? And so she, like I said, she advises her to help herself to get pregnant so the emperor would be more likely to forgive her father. But the fucked up thing about that is, the worst part about that is, we all know Concubine An can't get pregnant because of the pills she's been taking. Pills at one time supplied by the fucking Empress, right? And she even says as much. She tells that to the Empress. And the Empress as sick as ever, honestly, bro. She's like, well, I really have this really effective recipe, you know? And also, you don't even need to carry it the full term. Just get pregnant, get the Emperor's attention, and all your problems will be solved, right? Chat, I swear, my eyes rolled so far in the back of my head. So far. Anyways, next scene, moving on. Prince Gao and Prince Sheng are talking with each other, right? And like we said, everyone's aware of the Emperor's intentions towards Yu Rao. And Prince Gao is asking Prince Shen what he's gonna do about this. Prince Shen's saying, you know, he's just a useless idle prince. He's never really wanted for anything. He's only ever wanted Yu Rao. He'll do what he can. It's useless to try and confront the Emperor, he says, head on at least. But if he'll come up with a different means of attack, he can. He'll do it. He'll do what he can, basically. I really think that's nice and dandy, Prince Sheng, but that doesn't save Yu Rao, okay? I need you to fight. I need you to do something, like run away with her, please, alright? Anyways, at the end of the day, I forgot to mention, we have a fucking rank update. I don't know how I forgot this. Right? But apparently, if you guys remember, the plan for Sai Ping to enter the palace has gone through, right? The Emperor has conferred her as one of his concubines. And that's how we got our rank update. If you guys don't remember, I do my current rank updates in 2 categories, older and newer. The older category consists of like the women of the harem who have been in the harem like at the start or before the start of the series, and typically are the older women in the series, but not necessarily always. The newer category are the newer women that were added into the harem at the start or thereafter, like in the middle towards the end of the series. So for the older category, we have 1 Empress and we have 2 consorts. We have Consort Duan and Consort Jin. We have 1 Noble Lady, Noble Lady Shin. For the newer category, we have 1 Noble Consort, Noble Consort Shi, 2 concubines, Concubine An and Concubine Jen, 2 Noble Ladies, Noble Lady Ning, not 2 Noble Ladies, 1 Noble Lady, Noble Lady Ning, 1 Attendant, Attendant Kang, and 1 second attendant, our newest addition, second attendant Ying. That is Sai Ping, who was added into the harem. Speaking of the harem and the Emperor, and him looking elsewhere, the next time the concubine tags are presented to the Emperor, he chooses second attendant Ying's tag, indicating that he's actually kind of looking forward to seeing what he has here, right? Sometime later, the Emperor has come to visit Noble Consort Shi, and the 2 are walking together, and they happen to come across Prince Sheng and Yu Rao, and like kind of intimately standing near each other, and he's placing like this butterfly in her hair. Immediately, and I'm saying like right on the dot, the Emperor calls out Noble Consort Shi and is like, oh, so this is what you were trying to show me? Is this what this is? And noble consort Shi, for her part, is like, I don't have to intentionally show you anything. This happens every single day. Besides, everyone can see your attention to Yurao at this point, but we know she has no feelings towards you, right? And the Emperor kind of walks away without saying anything. He kind of just leaves her there. And at first, I was like, "Ooh," and I think you might have messed up. I think you might have messed up a little bit. And so as he leaves, Yurao and Prince Shen are talking to each other, and they're kind of doing like their promises of forever. Oops, whatnot. And we see that the Emperor is going to Yangshi Palace apparently, which is concubine An's palace. That is a big deal because her father apparently is extorting money and pretty much is the epitome of a corrupt official, yet the Emperor is still visiting, her, still visiting the said official's daughter. Crazy, right? But back at noble consort Shi's palace, Shi and Jinshi are discussing the Emperor, and one second, chat, one quick second. They don't. I'm literally almost done. Sorry about that, chat. Had to fix something in my Streamlabs. But like I was saying, Jinshi and noble consort Shi are talking with each other. And they're kind of discussing the Emperor when Yurao walks in, right? And once again, we see noble consort Shi is kind of fulfilling her role as that big sister, and she's doing everything she can, or she's doing everything within her power, really, to make her sister happy, and pretty much give her that life, and or at least give her a life of happiness and love that she didn't really get to enjoy since she had to pretty much go through exile with her parents, right? Some days pass, and we get a glance at Yurao, and she's playing the qin. The qin, known modernly today as the gudqin, is a plucked 7-string Chinese musical instrument. Of course, as she's playing this beautiful instrument and just enjoying her time and scenery, the Emperor walks in. And so after talking with him, and she even kneels and pleads with the Emperor at one point, she tries to return the jade duck pendant that he gave her and whatnot. The Emperor kind of walks off silently again. He does that maneuver where he just says one line and leaves. And so here we find ourselves again. Maybe we might have pushed it too far. Maybe the Emperor's getting upset. Maybe the Emperor is just like, I want what I want and no one's gonna change that. We don't know, right? But we see in the next scene, the Emperor himself is unsure of how to handle the situation. He kind of asks Eunuch Su for advice on the matter, which I thought was funny because Eunuch Su ain't got no damn kids, and he definitely ain't got no damn wife. He just got Jinshi. What would Eunuch Su know about love, bro? But that's just me. But he asked Eunuch Su for advice on the matter, and Eunuch Su's like, hey, no one's ever gonna replace Empress Chunyin, so like who you like. Anybody can please you and make you happy at this point, because the person you really want, the person you really love, no one's ever going to be able to match up to that, right? So apparently, with this advice, the Emperor feels at the end of the day, because no one will be able to actually, give that replacement, he gets the fucking hint, and he's like, he allows Prince Sheng and Yurao to be married. He tells Xu Peshang to carry out his decree, and he'll allow noble consort Shi to oversee the wedding, as also he kind of throws in the excuse the Empress Dowager is sick. This would be a good way to, counter her sickness, the bad luck of her sickness, and this happy event will be a really good thing for her, right? In the next scene, we get a look at the extent of the Empress Dowager's sickness. She is coughing up blood. She is looking pale. Really, really pale. She's speaking with her maid Jishi about you know, some things that have been weighing on her mind for the past few days. And she's worried about her position in protecting the Empress and how she's allowed the Empress to run rampant, right? She's wondering if all of this is a mistake. You know, the Empress Dowager admits to being aware that the current Empress very much did kill the former Empress, Empress Chunyin, you know, referring how to like she mysteriously died in childbirth, right? That was the current Empress's doing. And because she's feeling this more guilt now, she knows that there's no point in trying to change direction. She might as well double down and, you know, solidify her position that she's made all these years, excuse me. But knowing that she won't be able to counsel the Emperor anymore, or really give, like, you know, really be that bee in his ear in favor of the Empress, she kind of writes down like a living will and testament to try and ensure the Empress's position, telling her maid Jushi to keep it safe. That way, if there's ever a change in position or the Empress is threatened in any way, shape, or form, she can take this out and, you know, protect the Empress. We move on to the wedding between Yu Rao and Prince Sheng, and we don't really get a big reveal. We don't get a big show out of it. It's literally everyone at the wedding attending stepping out to bid farewell to noble consort Shi and the Emperor before they are leaving and heading back to the palace. And we get a quick glimpse of Yu Rao's wedding dress, and hers is beautiful too. I love it. While on the way to the palace, what I perceive them is them entering, you know, the gates to get into the actual palace, when a eunuch comes reporting to the carriage that apparently the Empress Dowager's health has taken a turn for the worse, which ends the episode on a really grim note. Maybe the Empress Dowager ain't gonna make it, chat. My final thoughts. Whew. This was a loaded episode, but it went by super quick to me. I feel like this episode, not that it was rushed, but that production was like, all right, we got to get this story plot wrapped up, get this wrapped up. And I kind of felt that in, you know, the Prince Sheng and Prince Sheng and Yu Rao, their whole relationship and their dynamic. But that being said, I still enjoyed it for what it was. It provided a little bit of side drama, but that's not the only drama. We see the Empress Dowager is on her deathbed, and I would hope she would be doing right by her fucking grandkids and dead grandkids by extension. But no, she's getting ready to protect the Empress and all her power, and it's sickening because it's like, why don't you see that you're affecting generations of peoples and livelihoods and everyone in this imperial family, simply because you want to keep the honor, your lifelong work of honoring your family? It's like, is that more important than, you know, I don't know, killing like concubines and their unborn children? Like, is that more important? Like, you tout yourself as this grandmother, this head senior figure of the nation, but you don't give a fuck about the nation nor the imperial family that has to inherit it. You care about your immediate relatives and the things you've done in your lifetime. Selfish as ever. But with that, chat, that is the end of our